I wish I had learned this truth many years ago. Be thankful for the days, good and bad.
All right, welcome to another episode of Warrior vs. Zombie, and I'm always excited to introduce Warrior guests to you. And today's guest, Rickey Gene Wright. You should know if you've been listening to this podcast, because you hear his music at least on the audio track every week when we do our podcast. But we're going to have a conversation with Rickey. This will be his third trip to the Warrior vs. Zombie audience. But first, let me tell you what Warrior vs. Zombie is all about. If you're just joining us, success is a journey, it's not a destination. As warriors, we all have a history of ups and downs, wins and losses that are all part of making us who we are up to this point. They provide a foundation for our path forward. We all battle our inner zombie as well as those zombies in our world, and we've got a lot of them today, right, Rickey? So each episode I interview warriors who are aspiring leaders from all walks of life, entrepreneurs, artists, health practitioners, business owners, any inspired leader that has a story to tell. These warriors have a cause, they have unique value and a vision that goes generations into the future, and today's guest, as you've heard before, is no exception. Rickey Gene Wright is an incredible warrior. He's a native Texan, husband, father, grandfather, singer, songwriter, entrepreneur, business owner, and networker. His 45-year warrior journey has included numerous business and successes and challenges, but music has always provided a soundtrack for his life. Rickey is a consummate storyteller and a servant leader of the highest order. His songs are inspiring and entertaining and can be found on his albums or any streaming platform, and even on a podcast like this one, where his 2020 release, It's Not the Gettin There, became our theme song. Rickey's music and songwriting journey has included performing in Opry Houses, writing and performing contemporary Christian music, and leading worship in music in church. He often performs with Denise Owen, the musical group Duck Creek Station, and has co-written songs with Grammy Award-Winning musician Brad Davis. Today, Rickey is rejoining our podcast since being our warrior guest in both episodes 1 and 9. I'd encourage you to go back there if you want to hear some of the backstory beyond what we're going to talk about today. And he came to share his journey over the last 2 years during what I call the zombie apocalypse. So Rickey Gene Wright, welcome to Warrior versus Zombie. I feel like you're here every week with me because I hear your music and hear your voice. But today you're live in the Hive, which you haven't been before. So welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
So what's new and exciting there? I think there's a possibility we might have a little golf outing today. I'm thinking, but I don't know about that. I'm working that out, working my calendar to see if I can shift some things around. It looks like a beautiful day here in Dallas. What's going on your world?
I have always thought about, music came so easy to me, and music is a timing thing, and my father was a great athlete all the way up to, his death in his early 70s. And I always thought there's a little bit of that great athlete in me somewhere. So that's why I continue to pursue golf.
Well, I'm glad you do, because you've inspired me to get out, and I that's a part of our mutual story here that I appreciate, was getting back out. One of my goals for the last year was to fix a hip issue that I had and get back out on the golf course, which has been my golf game isn't as good as it has been, but it's better than it was before while I wasn't playing at all. So I appreciate the encouragement there. Well, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to hear kind of your story since 2 years ago when we had our last discussion, and kind of hear about what you've been doing over the last couple of years and share that with our warrior audience. So let's take a quick break, hear a little bit of your theme song, It's Not the Gettin There, with Rickey Gene Wright, and we'll be right back with Warrior versus Zombie.
But the miles become the teacher while the student learns real slow, traveling blind most of the time. Wherever you go, it's not the getting there, it's the journey every day. It's not a race to see.
All right, we are back, and that was a little short break for those on the live audience, and on the audio audience, you'll hear that wonderful music that we're blessed to have. So, Rickey, I wanted to kind of hear about how the last couple of years have been for you. Hear about some of the challenges, the successes, the adaptations, all the things that we warriors do to keep moving forward.
Well, I have been an entrepreneur since 1994, when I got the opportunity to go out on my own from a guy that I had worked for 6 years, and he was really one of my business mentors, and he allowed me to go off and on my own because they wanted to go in a different direction. So I wasn't stealing anything. He was actually helping me. Mm-hmm. And so since then, I've had to, dodge freight trains and missiles and all kinds of things that come at you as an entrepreneur. And but this last 2 years was pretty wild and crazy. And I had moved from manufacturer representative. And the reason why that was when I was 39 years old in that 1994. The reason why I always wanted to pursue being business for myself was I had this desire to write music, record music, perform those songs. And I always wanted the freedom to do that. And if I didn't work for myself, that just really kind of threw a real monkey wrench into everything. So that was really the driving force behind working for myself, was so I could pursue music when I needed to. Well, these last 2 years, I had run across the COVID pandemic. And lo and behold, a business that I had been sort of my main business since about 2010 was a small business credit card processing, commonly called merchant services. And boy, did that take a hit, because those small businesses took a hit. And I started thinking, what am I going to do to continue the merchant services business? Well, in the meantime, I had a pickup truck, and I decided to do a little delivering of equipment. And I had done delivering of equipment that I had sold myself back as a manufacturer's rep, with large valves and pumps and different things. So I started doing that with an app that allowed me to pick and choose the different things to do. And I said, I really want this merchant services to move away from brick and mortar businesses to e-commerce businesses, because that's less affected. In fact, Amazon flourished during COVID, during the pandemic. And I thought, well, I can walk around here as a zombie and moan and groan, or I can move in a different direction. So it made me search and find people through networking, business networking, that were web designers. And I was able to actually launch into the e-commerce credit card processing world right in the big middle of COVID. So in actuality, I guess like I always have done all my life, when I found a bucket of lemons, I said, let's make some lemonade. So,
well, I tell you, let me interrupt you there for a second, and just because I think that you've made a couple of brilliant points and things that we can all learn from is, and I had that similar experience. I went through a different time for a different reason. It wasn't during COVID, but I had a situation where I didn't have the means to do some of the things financially that I wanted to do in the short term, to fund my son who was still in college, to have money to help him pay his rent and do those kinds of things. And as a warrior, as an entrepreneur, you kind of look around and you say, okay, what can I do that doesn't take away from my ideal day, but I can fit it in order to fund my journey. And I did a similar thing. I don't have a pickup truck, but I started driving for Uber and Lyft for a while. I called it my mobile ATM, and it basically, as a good friend of mine once told me, when you're in your business for yourself, sometimes you just have to do things to pave the runway so till you can get back off the ground. And that's kind of what I did. So that part of it is a good lesson, because sometimes you weren't playing music, you weren't doing your core business, but you had to find a way, and you had a pickup truck and you liked to drive, and you figured out that, got an app, and you created your own mobile ATM. So I think that's a brilliant lesson that all warriors need to learn, is sometimes we go through dry spells or things where maybe we're having trouble funding our journey with our passion or with our core value, but we can always find other ways. So that's one thing that you learn. The other thing is that, as you said, the business as it was, things changed during the zombie apocalypse such that the clients that you had or the services you were providing in the way that you were providing them was not there. And you had to figure out a way to expand that, right? You had to figure out a way to say, okay, how do I deal with the door that is opened, or which doors are now open because that door closed? And that's another huge, huge lesson that I think a lot of us have learned during the last couple of years, because just because you can't do it the way you did it before just doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you've got to find a better way. I mean, this podcast, right? You and I, episode 1, as you recall, was you interviewing me and me interviewing you, because we were both going to start podcasts in a podcasting studio, right? We both made that decision.
Right.
That, for me, in this podcast, lasted 3 episodes. Your episode and 2 more. Then zombie apocalypse hit, and we had to figure out another way. I could either say I'm going to wait, as I shared wait for 15 days to flatten the curve and we'll be back in the studio, which I didn't believe would ever happen, and it didn't. Right? But, I didn't trust necessarily the politicians or the people, that were going to happen. So I've had to figure out how to do it via Zoom. Now you've had to figure out how to do credit card processing in a more virtual environment, and you're still moving forward with that part of your business, which is brilliant. So tell me what else? Those are 2 lessons. I just didn't want the audience to miss those, because those are 2 very powerful things that I think you and I and many of us have learned, successes over through the zombie apocalypse that maybe we don't even realize we've accomplished.
Well, back to music. Even though we were in the zombie apocalypse, it's a hard one for me. The business networking friends that I had started thinking of ways to help me to do some music. I did some after hour events where me and my duet partner Denise Owen, we did some of those, and those were paying gigs, all associated through business networking. And then the Richardson Plano networkers decided to do a every Monday after hours event and invited me to come and sing. And I kind of went kind of kicking and screaming a little bit, I guess, because I'm really a singer songwriter, and I had to really stretch to after I have 3 albums, and after you sing those 3 albums, it's time to sing something else. And so doing cover music was a stretch thing for me, but I was able to find some cover music of other people that I could sing and stretch myself. And lo and behold, the business owners of Richardson Plano Networking were very generous, and they would throw some money in my open guitar case. And I was very, very surprised at the generosity all through that time. And my musician friends were shocked that I was playing every Monday night somewhere. I think we missed 2 or 3 weeks during that whole time, and that was just because the Porta de Roma restaurant, bar, coffee shop was closed for 2 or 3 weeks there. So to me, that was those two business association things that happened with music, which is like, holy mackerel. This would have not happened at all if I had not been pursuing relationships with other business people.
Yeah, I think that there's a huge lesson there. And again, was excited to be part of that, excited to see you on that journey. And you know me, I mean, I like to sing along and have that semi-audiographic memory. So I know all of Rickey Gene Wright songs. I can sing without the music or whatever. It's Not the Gettin There, or pretty much any of your regular music now, because I've heard it those times. But also, I also like to hear songs and other people do that they recognize when they walk into the restaurant. And so, as I often say, and we've different Warrior guests, one of the huge lessons, both during very uncomfortable times or comfortable times, is just that we only grow outside our comfort zone. And so growing, and we all need to be growing every day, right? It's a journey every day, just like the podcast theme song says that you wrote, which is it's a journey every day. And so that journey, sometimes when we start in motion, we attract things that we're surprised that we do. And it doesn't surprise me that some of your musician friends didn't see that, because sometimes we stare so much at the door that closed that we don't see the ones that open ahead of us. And you've also given an important lesson about continuing to invest in your network, because it is your network that in various forms, I believe, over the last couple of years, as well as my network, have given me a return during a time that maybe the way I traditionally would have gotten that return, I didn't get. I've been totally amazed and honored that people continued, even though Richardson Plano Networkers isn't a for-profit organization, right? But it's a not-for-profit. But people continued to support it financially and give us enough funds to keep it going, even when we were just doing it all online. Continued to be there without having to send bills or anything else, right? No merchant processing there, although they have ways to pay electronically. Anyway, so I think that's another brilliant point. What else? This is great. What other things have you? Anything else over the last couple of years to get to today that you've experienced?
Well, you talking about golf, or are you talking about business, or?
Well, business. I mean, business is golf. Golf is business. It's all about relationships. So the answer is yes. I mean, even like our Monday mixer that we do at Port of Roma, right? I mean, that's, people say, "Oh, this was really great," but it's not like business networking. Oh, yeah, it is, because people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And trust takes a while. They don't just know you and like you. Say, "Hey, they look good. Give me your business card. Yeah, I'll call you tomorrow." No, they're not going to do business with you, right, until they really trust you. And getting to know their story, getting to know why they're doing what they're doing, getting to know what kind of person they are, getting to sing a song with them, have a drink with them, have some food with them. All those things contribute. Play golf with them. All those things contribute, right, to that trust component. Well, let's do this. I think we've kind of gotten to today, and I really want to talk about kind of where you are today. And I know you've got like 3 pillars, and you're moving forward. There's 3 major things. There may be more, and I kind of want to hear about that, because I think the journey you've been on. If somebody goes back and listens to episode 9 or even episode 1, you can see the same journey, but you can also see that you have grown through this last couple of years too. So let's take a quick break. We'll come back and hear a little bit of why you're doing what you're doing today, the value you hope to provide, and if anything were possible, what kind of impact you have. So let's take another quick break. We'll hear a little more of Rickey Gene Wright in the break for the audio audience, and we'll be right back with Warrior versus
Zombie. It's not a race to see how many people know your name. One day you realize time was worth more than the gold. It's not the getting there. When you get there, you'll know. Funny how wisdom and youth.
All right.
Rickey
Gene. Man, you are always full of wisdom. One of the reasons why I wanted to have you back here is because I love talking to you. I love your Texas way of thinking. I didn't grow up in Texas, but I got here as fast as I could. And your accent is different than mine. I don't know what accent I have. I've been around different places. But anyway, so tell me a little bit about... I know a lot of the answers here, but I want the audience to hear why you're doing what you're doing today, what you're doing today, and what kind of value you're hoping to provide as we move forward through all this stuff we've got going on. Because the apocalypse isn't over, by the way. It just isn't being called COVID now. We have a different perspective right now with the war in Ukraine and people realizing what it's really like to be oppressed and really like to let the government, dictate everything. They're now finding out in a war on the other side of the planet, and we're not done with that for sure yet, I'm sure. But we're learning things. So anyway, tell me where you are today.
Well, I'm still pursuing the credit card processing merchant services, but really trying to pursue more in the e-commerce. And even though I can build websites, and I'm a amateur nerd, I guess you'd say, and I've built my 2 websites, the musical website at americanasingersongwriter.com and the merchant services website, merchantservicestx.com. I really don't want to build websites because I don't do it fast and efficient. I'm I'm, like I say, an amateur nerd, and sort of know enough to be dangerous and that kind of thing. But I want to pursue more in working with other people who build websites and plug in, the credit card processing that I'm involved with.
Well, let me park there. Let me stop you there for a second, because I think that's huge. Because for this, what Rickey is saying is this for the Be Connected audience and other people. Everybody's trying to put together their virtual presence, taking payments, doing things online. There are many options out there, but again, we all want to do business with people we know, like, and trust. So that's for those, joining us here on the podcast. That's one way that I think Rickey Gene can provide value. So so I got that one. Now what else?
Well, how you said that you've mentioned several times that the apocalypse is still here. Well, it's becoming less and less profitable to gas up that pickup truck and make deliveries as the gasoline prices rise. Mm-hmm. And it makes me want to, kick a can or something, kick a tire or something. Makes me so mad whenever I go to the gas pump, knowing that it didn't have to be that way. We sort of did it to ourselves here in the good old USA. So that's kind of on hold, because I could spin my wheels and just be busy being busy and not making hardly any money, So
Yep.
that's one thing that's changed. The music is beginning to open up again, and we've actually done some shows at wineries and different places. A house concert. We did a house concert down in the Clear Lake, NASA area, close to Houston. But I think that one of the things that has pushed me, something always pushes you, but whenever I think about, I want to make my business better, I want to make me better. I was at church here several months ago, and the pastor that I have been involved with and gone to the same church for 22 years, I think now. He mentioned some things that another pastor, Tony Evans, had made some comments about, and it inspired me. And of course, Tony Evans actually is a pastor in Dallas, and he's actually the first Black theologian to be asked to do a commentary, a study Bible commentary. And I was inspired to actually go buy one, a Tony Evans study Bible. And because some of the commentary and things that he has is just, refreshing. So not only do I want to make business better, I want to make me better. And I'm actually going to be a grandfather again in May, and that'll be number 8.
Whoa!
So I'm if we're in a race, I'm winning.
So far.
But so all those things kind of work together, and I think that when hard times come, you can either fall down and say it's over, or you can find ways to make everything better. So that's what I'm trying.
On the music front, so are you and again, I know some of this, but I mean, are you focused? I know there'll still be live events. It's kind of like speakers in the Be Connected network and people that I'm spending a lot of time. Orlia Moore, who was my podcast guest, she works a lot with speakers, and you still need to get paid as an artist, as a performer. You need to fund your journey, and you have very unique value. The songs that you have are very inspirational to me, to people. If they listen to them, they can find them everywhere. What other kinds of things are you doing there, or how do you see that balance, that impact as you're going forward with the music you provide? Are you writing more music? Are you going to be doing more theme songs for podcasts? What kinds of things do you see unfolding there?
All those things, certainly themes for podcasts. A lot of times I'm just inspired by something that happened, or I can't really explain why I write a song or how I write a song. But there have been times where people have contacted me and said, I'm getting married. Here's my story. I want a song, for the wedding, and so I have done that successfully. But I think that one of the things that kind of, especially with Be Connected, okay, I've thought about this. I have a unique value in that I'm a storyteller in the song and a storyteller about the song. And that actually in the business world, that could be a valuable thing to bring someone into a business gathering, whether it's on Zoom or in person, who is more than just singing songs one right after another, but has some commentary. And people used to tell me that they sort of saw my commentary sometimes as cowboy logic. And I always thought that was kind of a fun way to think about it. And so that's another thing that I've been thinking about, especially with the Be Connected avenue. There is that
sure
there could possibly be a real opportunity for cowboy logic, singer songwriter with a guitar and with some positive things to say. And not all songs have to be sad, and and of course there are some good sad songs, but I think that it could be that might be so, because I found that music fits in the business realm. Now, how could it fit even more? So that's what I've been thinking about.
That's a good thing to think about, brother. I mean, I think that, and we're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to hear a little more of you, and we're going to come back for the land, the plane. But as we contemplate that, as we go into the break, one of the things you said that was actually triggered some thoughts in my own mind, and that is that Orly Amore, who's going to actually do our mastermind tomorrow, her kind of theme song is Everybody Has a Story, and really is focused on speakers, but it's speakers, people who write books, people who do podcasts like this. And you, just like with this podcast, having a theme song that kind of goes along with my story. I mean, I know you didn't necessarily write this for Dave Roberts' story, but when you wrote that thing, it was really the thing that I've learned through my journey about, it's not the getting there. It's a journey every day. It's, all of that. And probably you could provide a soundtrack or put a lot of people's story to music, whether it's a story that they write in their book or the story that they write in there. You could provide the theme music. Well, so anyway, we'll talk about that in a break. Let's come back. Take a quick break. We'll have the Land to Plane segment. There, I want to hear, if we take away anything from this discussion, what would you want us to take away? And then how do we stay in touch? And we'll be right back with the final segment of Rickey Gene Wright. And we'll hear Rickey Gene Wright sing It's Not the Gettin There. And we'll be right back with Warrior versus Zombie.
Funny how wisdom and youth are always two different games. The years flew by so fast, is the common human complaint. The memories in our minds turn to diamonds in our soul. And by the grace of God.
All right, we are back. And I took a quick break there for the video audience, but we are back with the final segment. And Rickey, as I said, if we take away anything from this, or you take away anything from your story, what would you want the Warriors here to take away?
Well, I think that what I want them to keep always in the forefront of their mind is that it's not how bad things get or how tough things get. You just adjust, and you just find ways to absorb the blows and the shocks, and you just find a different way to do things. And if you're not into change, well, you're in a big hurt way, because we continually have to change. And being a warrior is all about that. And if you can't, you can look around at all the businesses, even the large businesses that couldn't change, and they're not here anymore. So we have to be ready and flexible to change.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's brilliance, and frankly is almost the definition of a warrior versus a zombie, because the zombie is manipulated and moved, and we just kind of try to keep on this. I mean, I love the zombie metaphor, right? You put spikes in front of the zombie, and they just keep moving forward, and they run into the spikes and they don't go anywhere. You know, that's the whole thing. Whereas warriors, we have to anticipate the change. We have to know that it's going to change. We have to realize that not going forward is not in the cards. We have to go forward. So whether that door's closed, that window's closed, whatever, we move forward. Well, that's a brilliant thing for everybody to take away from this podcast. And you've clearly illustrated through your journey over the last couple of years the willingness to change, the willingness to adapt. And I'm assuming going forward that we'll all continue to do that. So how do we stay in touch with you? I know there's ways that we can get your music. I know you're on the Be Connected platform. So tell me, what's the best way that we can stay in touch with Rickey Gene Wright?
Well, of course, Be Connected is easy to find. Rickey Gene Wright. I bet you there's not too many people there with three names. Being a Southern boy, it's just one of those easy things. Whenever I was in trouble at home, they could use those three names real fast, and I knew I was better listen. My music is on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, Pandora, all those places. And I do have a YouTube channel, Rickey Gene Wright, and that's it's spelled Rickey, and then G for the Gene, and then Wright, Wright. But I'm also have a website, and through business networking, I learned that if I have RickeyGeneWright.com, that's okay. And I do have that. But I really need a website that says more about me than just my name. So I found that Americana singer-songwriter.com was available some years ago, and I snagged that up. And so Americana singer-songwriter.com or Rickey Gene Wright, they all point to the same place. And on the business side, merchantservicestx.com. And that's kind of my theme in business when I got started was in the merchant services industry I love doing business with highly ethical people, and highly ethical people love doing business with me because that business has some unethical people in it. Just
Right.
like all businesses, you know.
Well, that's great. Well, I appreciate those ways of getting in touch with you. If you're listening to this podcast audio-wise, the easiest thing to remember is this is the guy behind the theme song. And if you go to Rickey Gene Wright, and you'll figure that out, or on the Be Connected platform, you can find him there. And like I said, we're going to be back next Thursday at 11, and you can hear him again and be reminded that this is the guy you want to connect with for not only your music and hearing your Americana, but also hearing about an ethical card processing, merchant services purveyor, e-commerce purveyor for your business. So, Rickey, I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing with our audience today. I really appreciate you taking the time out here and working through all the stuff we worked through to make this happen. And I appreciate you, and thank you.
Right. I enjoyed it, and I'm enjoying from a distance watching your podcast go on more and more and more, and your abilities as an interviewer have grown and grown, and it's kind of one of those things that's kind of fun to watch.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the encouragement. As I said, you've seen me from the day one to episode 65 today, so you know how far we have or haven't come, and I appreciate your contribution to this podcast, to this audience that they get to experience every week on the audio platform. And again, we'll be back next week at 11 o'clock with another episode of Warrior vs. Zombie. So let's hear the final outro of It's Not the Gettin There, and we'll be back next week.
It's not the getting there, it's the journey every day. It's not a race to see how many people know your name. One day you realize time was worth more than the gold. It's not the getting there, when you get there you'll know. One day you realize time was worth more than the gold. It's not the getting there, when you get there you'll know.